Lisa Copeland, and I want to invite you to my show, The Big Sell. Are you ready to stop being a small player in a big world? Are you ready to decommoditize your business? Are you ready to stand aside from the competition? Join me every week on The Big Sell.
Jim, hey everybody, it's Lisa Copeland. I am so excited to have you guys on today. My show, Big Sellers. I mean, you have to be a legend to make this show. And today I've got an automotive legend on this show, Jim Ziegler, better known, best known, and loved in our industry as Alpha Dog. Jim, how are you? An automotive legend on this show. Jim Ziegler. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
I'm having the best day of my entire life.
Why is it the best day of your entire life? I need to know.
I'm anticipating a better day tomorrow. This happens to me recurring. It's like Groundhog Day. Every day's better than the previous. It's a heavy responsibility being a legend. I've been called that lately a lot.
I know. So what is it like being a living legend?
It's a heavy responsibility being a legend. I got some reverb happening here. Let me turn that off.
So what is it like being a living legend?
There? It's a heavy responsibility.
Hey, Jim, we're having some feedback issues here. Okay, hopefully this is a little bit better.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely having some feedback issues. And
I think it's maybe because your Facebook might be on, so you just might want to just take down the volume on it.
Yeah, hang on one second.
I know that you want to see your great looking face and all that. Because when you're a legend and you're live, I know you want to make sure that it's, that you're looking good out there. But I can assure you that you are.
Well, okay. How about now?
I think that's great. What I'm trying to look for, so what I'm not going to be able to see, everybody, is I'm not going to be able to see your comments because we're recording this on Zoom. Because when you have a legend out there, not only do you want to have it on Facebook Live, but you want to be able to put it on your podcast. And that's what I'm doing today. So just know that Jim and I will go in afterwards. We will answer your questions. We will reply to you. But again, when you have somebody this powerful on, you want to be sure that you get it for posterity purposes. All right, so Jim, take us back. Take us back to the beginning when you were a radio DJ, when you were like the man that dominated the airways prior to the automotive industry.
I was on WAPE in Jacksonville, the Big Ape. And this is a 50,000 watt dynamite radio station, 800 miles of listenership, Norfolk, out of Jacksonville, Florida, north to Norfolk, south to Orlando. Legendary radio station, AM 690 on the dial. Some of the greatest DJs. We were stars.
Well, you had that radio voice. There is no doubt about it.
It was so much fun. You couldn't do anything. I couldn't buy a drink. I couldn't do anything. If I went into a bar or a restaurant, I couldn't pick up a tab. It was like being a local celebrity. You couldn't do anything. I couldn't buy a drink. I couldn't do anything. If I went into a bar or a restaurant, I couldn't pick up a tab. You hear that? Being a local celebrity.
Well, you are a local celebrity, but let me ask you, how come, why does that bother you?
I'm getting some feedback here. I don't know where it's coming from.
Hold on, I'm bringing it down right now. Here we go. So that's going to be better. I was telling Jim before we got on today that all the technical difficulties I've been having, absolutely making me crazy.
Yeah, that was a little weird there. That was your Facebook feeding back into it, I believe.
Well, because you know what, I got kind of tricky here, and I told the viewers that I couldn't see their comments, and then I figured out a way to do it. Boom, David Cribbs is on here.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, WAPE, Jay Thomas and I had character voices. I did all the character. And do you know who Jay Thomas was?
I do not. But
he was a hockey player on Cheers. He was a coach on Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, he was a Mork and Mindy show.
Yes.
And I could tell you stories about Robin Williams and Jay Thomas and I riding around in a Winnebago in Jacksonville when he first got on the Mork and Mindy show. Fun stuff. And somewhere along the line in the mid 70s, I got divorced. And I got depressed, and I walked into a car dealership and said I'd like to be a car salesman.
Good Lord, that could be a country song, and a bad one at that. I got the test and I became a car salesman.
It was raining the day my mama got out of prison. Yeah.
And I became a car salesman.
I didn't want to be a car salesman. I was going to do it till I could get a good job.
That was a good job, wasn't it? Because you're about to tell us the story.
The third month in the business, I set the all-time record for that dealership and made $4,500.
In 1970 what?
6.
Wow.
I had never made that much as a general sales manager of a radio station. I mean, that was executive money. That was incredible money. And, you know, I just started 35 years ago, or 42 years ago, that was.
What was the first car you ever sold?
It was a Datsun B210.
Oh, a Datsun, stop it. I remember those days.
Well, it was Superior Datsun. It was a Datsun dealership.
Right.
There wasn't even Nissan yet.
2X or 280 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Get this. When Nissan, Datsun, and Honda and BMW came into the country, they were sold in lawnmower shops and motorcycle dealerships.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you wander into the Datsun store?
It was close to my apartment.
Okay.
I was just going to do this till I could get a good job. Maybe I could keep it a secret.
Oh, that's right. You know, and that's the whole thing. I remember when I got my job selling cars by accident, and I was in college, and my dad was horrified. He's like, "You're doing what?" I'm like, "I'm selling cars." And so I guess in the beginning, I think that we used to try to hide the fact that we were car salesmen, didn't we?
Oh, incredible. So in 1982, here I was, rock bottom again, divorced, broke, angry, depressed. I tied my mattresses on top of the roof of a buy here, pay here car. My credit was so bad. And I drove to Atlanta in the middle of the night, starting over again.
Okay, so that was after the first time. It looks like some of your fans are chiming in. Now, Sean Hayes is telling me that my mic is muffled. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
Okay, so Sean, let me know out there if you can hear me okay. You know, Sean Hayes, I'm sure you know him too. He has Sales Hustlers. He kind of reminds me of you. He has a great story, and he's out there and he's galvanizing. He has started a movement when it comes to automotive car sales people. I love that
Yes,
about him.
that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. Yeah, I went to work. I met my wife, sold her a car.
Beautiful Debbie.
Yeah, she was an up. You know? And
First, got a job as a car salesman. Then I met my beautiful wife of 35 years. That is truly a country song.
35 years. It is a country song. And then I got to meet her parents.
Uh-oh. Did you have to tell them you were a car salesman, or did
They
you?
were kind of affluent, and they're old Southern family. And she said, they're going to have a problem with me marrying a car salesman.
Everyone has a problem with their daughter marrying a car salesman. You know that.
So guess what I said? Would it be better if I was a manager?
The manager of the car lot, right?
So I went to the dealer and said, look, I got to be a manager.
I have to be a manager so that I can get the girl.
And I'll never forget the first time I met her mother. I had $5,000 cash in my pocket. And I took them to one of the best restaurants in Atlanta, and I pulled out this wad of cash.
Was it something down payment? I want to know.
I knew it was going to impress her. No, it was my money.
Okay.
I knew it was going to impress her mother. Her mother said, he doesn't have a credit card, does he?
You see, mothers always know.
Yeah.
I can remember back in the old days, I got in the car business about 1985, and back then we'd have to take our cash home at night, receipt it in, and take it home because a lot of times the safe was closed.
Mm-hmm.
So there were nights I could have pulled out $5,000 in cash too.
Well, it's amazing. I was lucky to be with some really great, big, top performing, state of the art dealerships of that day. I was with Dyer & Dyer Volvo when we went from 40 units a month to 850 units a month in less than 2 years.
Okay, well, Volvo, 850 a month. They typically don't sell that many cars in a year.
Anytime you get a Volvo veteran, ask them about Dyer & Dyer in the 80s.
Okay.
We went to 850 units, not every month, but many months. And we were the first $1 million a month F&I store in the world.
Wow.
We
Okay,
did,
so take us down the journey, because I see, of course, I've got to put my glasses on. I see lots of our car friends, Sean Hayes and Melissa and Chad Morgan and Sean Thomas. Sean Thomas is Ask a Millionaire. He's got a great story. He has 1 million followers on Instagram. And look,
it's amazing.
he's watching you because you're a legend.
I got to tell you, well, being a legend is not all it's cracked up to be, but
I'll be a legend someday.
it's a lot of fun being me. If I died right now, I'd ask God to let me come back as me.
Because everybody loves you. They revere you. I mean, you have closed sales groups that have 18, 20,000 people in them.
Well,
you're like the...
that's an urban legend. Those groups don't exist.
Yours does.
Nah. Urban legend. Yes. So,
It's actually a closed group.
now with Dyer and Dyer Volvo, I don't take credit for the 850 units. I was one of 5 managers. And Richard Dyer had hired what he considered the 5 most talented managers in the city. I wasn't even the department head. I was one of the producers, but I was part of that. And then I was hired by Potamkin, and Potamkin had 5 big dealerships in Atlanta. I became the F&I director and then the general sales manager for a while. And that's when I stopped and started this company in '86.
Okay, I did not realize you started your company in '86. So the legend started then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, tell us about your company. I want to come to one of your exotic events.
The first thing I did
in the Bahamas or something.
Nah.
Yeah.
I heard that Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition had made a deal with Ford Motor Company to have 300 minority stores online. And they didn't have the trainers and consultants for the project. So I flew to Detroit, and I was on a 32nd floor, Renaissance Center. That's where General Motors is today. Ford used to have that building. A lot of people don't know that GM headquarters was once Ford's headquarters.
Okay.
I was on the 32nd floor of the Renaissance Center, 86, and I'm in a horseshoe table. I'm looking at Ross Roberts, Edsel Ford, Dick Fenstermacher, Bob Rui, all the legendary old vice presidents of Ford. Rusty Restucci was in the room. Jim O'Connor was there, and still a friend of mine today. And I got the contract. And it was substantial. We started this company. We made $1 million the first year.
Wow.
I mean, out of the chute.
Did you take anybody with you from your dealership, or did you start it on your own?
No. I mean, the first thing I did was I went into a recording studio where the Baptist ministers all did their recordings. And I made a cassette tape. Remember those?
I do.
And I didn't put any label on it except I can improve the profitability of your dealership by $100,000 a month immediately. And it was nothing other than that on the envelope. And I mailed it to every dealer in Georgia.
I would have opened that envelope in a hot minute.
And they couldn't find out who I was until they listened to the tape.
Love it.
And it launched our career, and the Ford contract. And then I was on all the F&I videos for Ford and the product training videos.
Wow.
So I had three different deals with Ford. The minority contract was good. I hired employees to help me with that. So within 3 years, we had 40 employees. And we moved into 6,000 square feet of upscale offices.
Wow.
Which I shut down in 2008.
Yeah, everything shut down in 2008. But I want to take you back for a second. So you went from being this broke, depressed car salesman to this mega entrepreneur who was smarter than everybody else, who figured out where the industry was going. You figured out what the potential problem was going to be, especially training a bunch of dealers that have never been in the business before, or maybe had not gone very high in the business. And you're out there, you're solving a problem, you're building a company, you're employing people.
Well, think about this. My wife said to me, "You quit Potamkin?" I said, "Yeah. I'm starting a company." She said, what? I said, I'm going to consult car dealers. She said, who else is doing this? I said, nobody's ever done it.
Boom. Brilliant.
Lisa, I invented the car consulting business. There were trainers, but there were no consultants because I came from a management background. You know, there's a lot of national trainers, but very few of them, if any of them, almost none of them came from management.
Right.
They're sales trainers.
Right.
I'm a management trainer with a successful management track record.
Well, a very successful one at that. And I see one of my ex-employees who's now a general sales manager, Drew Barker, has joined. And Natalie, Matt Wagner, she loves you. And I mean, all your fans are starting to come on, friend.
Hey, well, let me tell you what, you know why I get along so well with the people? Because I love them. I care about them. You know, my email signature is try to help somebody today that can't do anything for you and try not to get caught doing it.
That's nice.
You know, and I actually live that. I've helped a lot of people. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of who I've helped and what I've done, but there's a lot of people in the business that I have helped. I have furthered their careers, and I don't ask anything of them. I don't want anything from them.
Okay, what does that person look like? And I say what they look like. Are they people that come to you and say, look, I know you're a legend. I'm looking for a mentor. I need some help. And you jump in? Or these people you've worked with? Who are these people? Who's lucky enough to be able to?
Usually it's career moves. Usually it's career moves. I've helped a lot of people that I picked them up when they were down, and I've helped them. I've helped them out. I've put people in the national spotlight that are now nationally known trainers. Well, it's sort of well known. Elise Kephardt's one of my proteges.
Oh, she's wonderful. I'm surprised she's on. She's usually on our show. She
is absolutely phenomenal. I didn't give her her talent. I discovered her and brought her out where people could see her.
You gave her.
I introduced her to the industry, and there's probably 10 or 20 people out there that I introduced to the industry and brought them along and helped them. And I do a lot of that.
And why? What does it do for your soul? It's obviously your legacy.
My legacy, you know, everybody knows I'm 71 years old. You know, I mean, anybody can do the math. You know, and I don't know how much longer I'll do this. I'm doing 2 conferences a year. The Internet Battle Plans are extremely successful. And the biggest thing is I have no envy. Like Grant Cardone, I get along fine with Grant. You know, I mean, I am so proud of his success.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have no envy. I don't want anything he has. I might want something like what he has, but I don't want his. That makes sense?
That jet is a good thing. I knew Grant when he walked in and called on me, and he didn't have a jet back then. I'm going to say that I think the jet is definitely a very good perk of his success.
Yeah, you can't argue with it. You can't argue with a jet.
I'm sorry.
You know, I've got 5 million miles with Delta Airlines, and I don't envy people being in the air anymore. I mean, if you ever
had a jet, I'm telling you right now, Grant, if any of your people are watching this, Alpha Dog and I, we need a ride on the jet. Now, you know, I haven't had jets, but people I've worked with before have had jets. We've used them. It's great. But, you know, it is a lot easier to get from point A to point B when you're not jacking with security and people standing in line in front of you. You're just walking onto your jet.
Well, I've had General Motors send me the General Motors jet to take me to Detroit. And you know, what's that?
And it was easier, wasn't it?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's a lot of fun. But, you know, I'm not going into dealerships anymore. I stopped doing that last year. And Park Cities Ford in Dallas. I don't know if you're familiar with Park Cities.
I'm very familiar.
You know Jeff Enright?
I do not, but you know, I'm in Austin, Texas, so I'm just a couple hours up the road from him.
Jeff Enright, the managing partner, general manager of that dealership, I've been working with him for 30 years. Back when he was with Westwood. What's that?
Is Randall Reed the dealer principal?
That's a Randall Reed store.
Yeah, I know Randall. My husband and I have stayed at his place in Sedona. Wonderful dealer.
Mm-hmm. I do. Mm-hmm. Now, Jeff Enright was with Westway Ford, and that was one of my first big consulting contracts. We took that dealership. You know, I've got a reputation for growing dealerships to the big numbers quickly, and the last couple of speeches I've done is how we did that. You know, we took Westway Ford from 400 units to 1,000 units in less than a year and a half.
How? Tell us.
Well, it was process driven, management hyper awareness. I teach a concept, hyper awareness, being on top of every project in real time, knowing what your salespeople are doing, knowing what's going on. And today we've got CRM. CRM, when I'm consulting a dealership today, CRM is the heartbeat of the dealership. And people say, well, Jim, that's old Joe. Old Joe can't use the CRM. Old Joe can't stay here.
Yeah. Bye, Joe.
So sorry, Joe. I mean, if CRM runs the store,
yep.
I can tell you war story after war story where we got the dealership to totally use the CRM and totally do their processes. And the numbers exploded. What
is your favorite CRM of all of them? We used to have ADP. I hated them. I wanted to shoot them in the face on a daily basis.
I like two of them. I like Dealer Socket and I like eLead.
Okay, eLead, which I've met Hugh in Dealer Socket. So that's a big endorsement.
I'm not a big Vin fan because Vin sometimes crashes at the most inconvenient times. It's probably a better CRM than a lot of them.
Right.
But the support and the consistency are not to my liking.
Okay, so that's a big endorsement that you put out into the universe.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't say anything behind people's back I wouldn't say to their face. Yeah. It's just, I'm known to be outspoken.
Yes, you are known for that. That's what I like about you. What made you decide to quit going into dealerships a year ago?
Well, I've done it for 35 years, traveled 200 days a year away from my family. Oof. 5 million miles with Delta, and I only fly in the front of the plane. I don't even know what goes on in the back. I looked back there one time, it looked like a prison car with people groveling for peanuts and stuff. I don't do that.
Nobody else can say that but you.
Matter of fact, my business card, you said the alpha dog will fly in the back of no planes. I've had meeting planners say, I know you don't fly in the back of no planes. You're right.
Oh, I love it.
I'm still doing speeches. I've got a speech for the Greater Cleveland Auto Dealers Association in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They've hired me and I charge the association's full fee.
Right.
They've hired me to do a 2-hour presentation, 20 things I'd change if I bought your dealership.
Okay, well, since I can't afford to pay you your full presentation, your speaking fee, give us one or two that you would tell people that you would go in and change today, like.
Say it again.
Okay, so I'm seeing all kinds of GMs on here and GSMs and people that you and I both know. If you had to give them a tip today, like one thing that if today that you told them to do it and they could implement it tomorrow and change their business, what would it be?
Fire the one employee that thinks they're bulletproof.
Ooh. Because I've always said, the one that sells 40 cars a month, they can be replaced by 3 that sell 12 or 13, and they're going to be a lot easier to deal with.
And behave themselves and give them a bad reference.
Ooh.
I have been known to have sales meetings when I was in management with a cardboard box in the podium.
And you're just shooting one of them in front of everybody.
I started out one meeting. Somebody today is going to disagree with me, and I've anticipated that and brought your luggage.
Oh my gosh. I don't know that we could get away with that in the year 2018.
I don't know if you could either. I might. But, I'm not saying you got to fire somebody without cause, and firing somebody is a loss. I mean, let's face it. The 4 E's of Zieglerism are educate, evaluate, elevate, and then exterminate. Educate, evaluate, elevate, bring people up.
Yeah.
But if people refuse to come up to my standard, this is not a safe house for underachievers.
Yep, you're right. I love that. I want to transition you for a minute onto women in automotive, which is my heart and my love.
All right.
Give us some. There's a lot of women on here that are your fans and they follow you. And tell us, according to you, what is the future? Because what NADA says that 90% of all female salespeople will turn over in 12 months. What does the industry need to do to attract and retain top female talent?
Well, first of all, they got to evaluate what type of person makes a good salesperson. There are some women out there that make great, you're a living example. But there are some people that are not the personality type, men or women. And one thing I believe in is aptitude assessment. You know, I hire by aptitude assessment. Are these people inclined to make a good salesperson? And you know, I think we know a lot of the same people. You know, Subi, you know, Christy, you know, a lot of people I know, and I have helped the women in automotive movement quite a bit. I promoted you guys heavily.
I know you have.
And I've also helped a lot of women in the industry. I've you know, half the speakers in some of my events have been women. I can't tell you, the late Tammy LeBlue was one of my proteges.
Loved her.
I mean, I brought her out. I trained her. I'm the only training she ever had. They actually paid me full fee to train that woman, one employee, or Nissan in Bossier City, Louisiana. Stephen brought me in there, and $7,500 a day plus first class travel. They paid me 3 days to train her to be a salesperson. And then they brought me back for another 3 days to train her to be a manager.
Wow.
And then I brought her out, started having her speak at my events. You know, so yeah, Tammy was one of the proudest achievements in seeing somebody transform, and, you know, perfect example of what we're talking about.
You know, I actually saw one of her last speeches was at the Women in Automotive Conference a couple years ago. And for those of you who don't know, Tammy passed away. It was just a tragedy, and just very sad.
It was very unexpected. You know, everybody loved her. I went to her funeral. I was on vacation. I actually flew in for the funeral.
I know a lot of people did. I mean, just a great lady. It was a very, very big loss.
Yeah, so, you know, I could tell war story after war story of things we've done. But if I had to give a general manager or general sales manager a piece of advice, it's be a manager. You know, manage your processes, define your processes, and motivate your people. But by the same token, you know, we don't have blanket forts and puppy therapy. You know, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Everybody, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, is one giant HR violation.
No blanket forts, puppy therapy, safe spaces. You know,
nothing on this show. No big sellers believe in that.
I always tell the story, and you know, we always talk about the trophy generation, but you know, when my son Zachary Ziegler, does that name have some testosterone in it?
It does. I like
Zach Ziegler. I mean, you won't see him toe dancing on Broadway. Not with a name like Zach Ziegler.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
So anyway, Zach Ziegler was a pretty good little t-ball player. You know about t-ball?
Yes, of course I know about t-ball.
They hit the ball off a stick. Anyway, he was a pretty good little t-ball player. And at the end of the season, the coach got all the kids together. They had hot dogs and Coca-Colas and a swimming pool party, and all the kids the coach would stand there and compliment them and tell a story about each little kid and give them a trophy, including the little kid that peed in center field in front of all the parents and filled his glove up with dirt. I'm sorry, little loser kids don't deserve a trophy.
Okay, so we have to be a little bit nice. So, but you know, in my book, Crushing Mediocrity, we wrote about the fact that we felt like, Renee and I felt like that part of the reason that our country's mediocre is because everyone gets a trophy. What happened to having to compete for your job, compete for your spot? You know, there's honor in excellence. So we'll leave it at that, because so that I don't get any hate mail.
Oh, well, direct the hate mail at me if I said something offensive. You know, I'm offended that people get offended.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I'm offended.
Tell us about your following. Tell us about how you've got 18,000 in a secret group that nobody knows about. But I actually got invited to that group, so I'm pretty proud of myself right now. But years ago, But how, I mean, what is it that, I think that people, especially in sales, I don't care if it's automotive, real estate, whatever it is, I think people want to hear the truth, you know?
Well, if I had such a group, if there was such a group,
if it existed,
if it's not really an urban legend,
yes,
it has rules.
yes,
And people criticize the rules, but the rules are what makes it great. We don't allow language. You're not going to drop the F-bomb or the bad words. You're not going to say that in my group. I might say some of those words in personal conversations, but I'm never going to put them in print or on a speech on a stage.
right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And if somebody starts using that language, they're out of the group. You're not going to attack other people. I see so many groups on Facebook that they're attacking each other.
Why?
They're lying about their
What
numbers.
is the purpose of that? Attacking each other, like in these crazy little groups. I've never understood it.
Well, what happens is the anonymity of being on social media, people get brave. We were talking about this before the show started. I'm not going to say who or what the situation was, but when you got somebody face to face, they backed down on you, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, people can be pretty brave on social media, and they start attacking each other and putting each other down, and makes them feel bad. I don't know what it makes them feel, but you're not going to do it in my groups if I had such a group.
If it existed.
If it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get complaints sometimes. Like today, we told somebody they couldn't post a Gary V video in my group if I had a group.
Yeah, if it existed.
Yeah, and the person got mad and quit the group because we don't post Gary V videos in the group.
How come?
Well, because we're not there to be a motivational group. We're there to be an informational group.
Okay.
I want people.
So if it existed, I mean, this would just be hardcore, sales talk, management talk, business advice, like no fluff. Like these are people ready to do business.
It's a serious group. There are some of the biggest dealers in the country in the background in that group, if there was such a group.
Yeah, if it existed.
Yeah. So I'm talking about some heavy duty players are in that group, and they hardly ever comment, but they send me personal messages. You got to remember, I can get more dealers on the telephone than virtually anybody I know.
Right.
Even if people don't like me, they'll come to the phone.
They wouldn't like you.
Ziegler, what the hell does he want? If they find out it's Jim Ziegler on the phone, dealers will come and see. I have dealt with the fathers, even the grandfathers of some of the current dealer principals.
Oh my God! I mean, what a responsibility, though. Just to be able to have that kind of influence and access. And the thing that I've so respected about you is that I've seen you really come alongside a lot of really great people and support them and really, what I like about the group, if it really did exist, is the fact that you endorse good behavior. It's like, you know what, you're not going to come here and misbehave. You're not going to come in here and be a bully. You're not going to come in here and cuss and run other people down. If you're serious about your career and you're serious about your business, if this group existed, you might get an invite.
You got it. That's exactly what it's all about. And people respect that. If there was such a group, one post will get 100 responses.
Right.
You see other groups get 2 or 3 responses per post. I mean, because people are engaged. Now, every single morning I get up 4 o'clock and I hit the computer and I'll send out 60, 70, 80 birthday greetings every single day. And they're cartoons or different things I send people.
Why so early?
Well, we have a dog.
And the dog has to go out.
That dog will stand right up in my chest at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know how she tells time, but it's time to get up. I got to go for a walk, and I'll take her.
Wow.
So we're pretty normal people. Then I'll poke 100 people once a week on Facebook. Keep them in my feed. So I'm working social media. I've got 100,000 friends and followers on the social media right now.
Wow.
That's Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
So what would you say, where do you see the future of this business going. So there's so many people out there, and everyone wants to be a celebrity, and there's really only a few true celebrities in my mind, and a few that are coming up through the ranks. And I mentioned our friend Sean Hayes. I love what he does. But he's consistent. Like, he never gives up, and I think he's fantastic. But then when I interviewed Ollie Rita, after he broke the world sales record, he said, Lisa, I don't use social media. So you've got Sean out there crushing it with social media, and then you have the guy that crushed the world sales record, who works 5 days a week, 9 to 5, and doesn't use social media. What's the answer?
I don't know. I mean, when I first got into business, our CRM was a flat file Rolodex and a 10-key calculator.
Right.
I mean, and I had 2 flat file Rolodexes, January through December and A through Z.
Yep.
And I cross-reference all my customers. I do birthdays. I do the things I do. Facebook is a productivity tool. CRM is a productivity tool. I use a CRM. And I'll make 100 outbound phone calls a day when I'm selling the seminars.
Wow. So you call, and you personally pick up the phone and you call and say, you need to buy a ticket to my seminar.
Absolutely. And since I know so many dealers personally, you know, we're not the biggest event, but we had 200 dealer attendees at the one we just did at Teach at the Beach in February.
At Teach at the Beach. I mean, I'm serious. You absolutely take the cake. You know, all these other guys want to get all these dealers to Las Vegas. No, you're the smart one. Teach at the beach. You're saying.
And we're going to Detroit in August.
Okay, you lost me at Detroit, but that's okay.
MGM Grand Hotel. We've had the second biggest event we ever had in MGM in Detroit. People up there are starved because nobody's bringing the conferences to them.
Right. No, I've actually heard that. You know, I used to go up there every 90 days when I was on the National Dealer Council for Chrysler. And I love Detroit. I've got an affinity for it. So,
you know, it's a lot of fun. Detroit. I love Detroit. I know a lot of the executives at the companies up there, and you know, some of these people I've known for 30 years.
Yeah, and they love you. And you know, hey, we have more people joining. We got Cindy Stewart, we got Craig Johnson, we got Denise, Stasco. I mean, everybody out there. And people are putting up pictures.
I can't see the sidebar. Who else is there?
Well, that's what I'm reading them to you. I mean, Denise, Stasko, Stasco, I'll screw that up. She says that she'd prefer the beach, and she's got a couple palm trees and sunglasses. Andrew Street, one of the greatest Facebook guys in the world. He did all my stuff. Allison Roberts, she's awesome, out of Atlanta, big sales guru. Chad Morgan, like I said, Sean Thomas, 1 million Instagram followers. He's quite the entrepreneur.
We got some celebrities in the audience there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew that's why I was going to have you on the show. I didn't wait until a day from now. It'll go up into thousands of views because people want knowledge, but they want knowledge not from a bunch of fake, you know, hey, I started a Facebook page, so now I'm a guru, I'm an expert. We want knowledge from people who have gone out there, they've done it, and they've paid their dues. And that's what I've always liked about you. Like, you know, you're like, hey, BS, I've done the job. I'm not out trying to tell you something that I haven't done myself. So with that being said, where do you see the industry going in the next 3 years when it comes to, you know, I mean, we have our good friend Brian Benstock out there, you know, and he's out saying, you know, the future.
Oh, Benstock's amazing.
He is amazing. He's been on my show. In fact, he called me a minute ago, and I guess he's not on because he's trying to call me. Anyways, but you know, the future of automotive is frictionless. You know, that's what he's out saying, and everyone's out saying that, you know, bricks and mortar is going to, you know, not go away. It'll never go away, but it's going to, you know, drastically decrease.
Well, it depends on what players are steering it in which direction. There's some nefarious people out there that are not quite honest with the dealers. There's a lot of bogus research disguised as factual research.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of waves of the future that are being created by people that are profiting by it. Well, I'll give you an example. Autonomous cars.
Yes.
There is no mandate from the public for autonomous cars. This is strictly a profiteer-driven movement.
Yes, I've actually heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The general public, every survey out there within decimal points are saying most of the public doesn't want autonomous cars.
Right, because so many people like the power. I mean, the most autonomous, I think that, the research that we did is that they like car sharing when they need it because they don't want to park somewhere. But, the people like the experience of being in control and driving the car.
Well, let me tell you how the plot thickens. Autonomous cars are coming. I mean, whether the public wants it or not.
Right.
But now we're going to have to build an infrastructure to support autonomous cars.
Absolutely.
Stop signs and red lights that communicate with the cars,
roads that communicate on the highway. Penske's a client of mine, Penske Trucking, and their COO told me that,
So then some legislator, probably in California, is going to pass a law that driven cars are dangerous and are no longer allowed on the highways.
Yep.
Because they can't drive with autonomous cars. So now we're going to have to replace every car on Earth with an autonomous car.
It sounds like the Apple computer iPhone plan, doesn't it?
Yes.
The phone is obsolete in 12 months. I don't care what it is. It's $1,000.
They're going to make every car on Earth obsolete, and you have to buy another one. They're going to create a whole new market.
Well, I'm going to need to be a car dealer. I'm going to have to go back and be a car dealer then.
Exactly.
I'm going to be an autonomous car dealer.
Well, I don't know if I'll be around to see it, but what the heck? It's coming. And the car business, nobody has ever made a full transaction the popular way to buy a car. Carvana is bleeding money out of every artery.
Yep.
I mean, all these people are losing money. General Motors, how's Shop, Click, and Drive going, guys? What a joke. These people, when you're dead, you don't know you're dead. It just affects the people around you and upsets them. Same thing when you're stupid.
I think you officially just called General Motors stupid, but that's okay.
No, not everybody that works there.
Yeah.
Just some of the top management. No.
Yeah, you know what I think the problem is they're not stupid. They've just never done what you and I've done, which is worked in a car dealership. They don't really know how things work, so they sit and they hypothesize about how things should work, and they put things in place that are never going to work because they've never stood behind the walls of a dealership and tried to sell cars.
The manufacturers have never succeeded at retail.
Right.
Remember when General Motors and Ford were going to operate their own dealerships and they crashed miserably?
Yeah, Ford Direct. That's the one that comes to my mind. Crash and burn.
Oh, it was the Ford Auto Collection.
Yeah.
And this is like circa 2000. And I was writing in the magazines at the time, this is going to crash and burn really badly. And it did. And so the manufacturers, they keep interfering in retail, and we always bail them out.
Yeah.
And technology, the road to the sale didn't die. The road to the sale evolved, and we inserted technology into the road to the sale. Now, the showroom is the website. Meet and greet the customer is not happening on the parking lot.
Happening in an email after the customer inquires about a car?
Yeah, Google's the weapon. And people, and there's so many bogus reports about attribution and influence. Excuse me, Google Analytics. Attribution and influence? No, Google Analytics. Google Analytics is everything. There are so many companies out there skewing bogus figures of attribution and influence. It's incredible. And dealers are buying that.
Because, I think they're buying it, Jim, because they don't know what to believe. And I can tell you, it reminds me of my Auto Trader bill. I was spending $14,000 a month on Auto Trader. I was afraid not to spend it. I'd cancel it one month. I might have a bad month. I'm like, oh my God, it's because I didn't have Auto Trader. I didn't know that for a fact.
No.
I think it's the same, in every one of these digital, things that the dealers are spending tens and thousands of dollars a month on.
I'll tell you, Facebook will outperform all of them.
Yeah.
Facebook will outperform every lead provider out there, including Gurus. I think Gurus is probably the real deal as far as delivering right now. Cars and Trader, I don't see the value.
Yeah, very expensive.
I do not see the value, and the thing is, some dealers are paying this much, And some dealers are paying this much for the same services.
Right.
I own a domain that I've never activated called findoutwhatotherdealerspaid.com. If I ever
On that, what do you think? We'll
what
activate it. I said, I'll be your partner on that. We'll activate that one.
I own the domain. Findoutwhatotherdealerspaid.com. What if we started publishing what everybody paid these vendors?
Oh, we would have to hide out somewhere, but we would make a lot of money.
Make a lot of money. They're so keen on telling consumers what other consumers paid. Let's tell other dealers what other dealers paid for the same vendors.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, we could just go on and on forever, and we're coming to the end of our time. So I want to ask you something. I like my hot seat questions, and so it kind of lets people know a little bit more about you. So, and I'm going to kind of speed date you on this one, kind of just dial them out, and you just answer them. So what was the first car you ever owned?
First car I ever owned was a '66 Mustang.
Wow. What color was it?
It was midnight blue.
And I bet you wish you still had that car, don't you?
I do. I had to buy that car with my own money. Then my parents bought it from me and gave it to my brother.
Okay. What's your favorite city that you've ever lived in? What's your favorite city?
My favorite city? I grew up in Jacksonville. I lived in New Orleans. I lived in Memphis. I lived in Monterey, California for nearly a year.
God's country. I grew up in Northern California.
Well, I was a big sir at Esalen. This is my hippie days. This is that missing year in my resume. that missing year that you sort of like covered up with 2 other jobs.
Yeah. Okay, so Monterey.
I jumped on a motorcycle. I don't tell that story too often, but I jumped on a motorcycle and went west for a year and came back.
What is the worst job you ever had?
Packing chickens in a chicken packing plant.
Ooh, were they alive or dead?
Well, they came in alive,
Oh,
but a guy would slit their throat with an electric knife,
oh.
and then
I had to ask, didn't I?
my job was freezing them after they were processed.
One by one, you had to pick up the headless chickens?
Well, they were already packaged and everything. This was coming out the other end of the plant. But then I had to put them in ice and freeze them really quick, and it would freeze your arms. It would hurt. But it paid $1.25 an hour, and I was 16.
Wow. Okay, so you are somebody who's lived, I mean, what a life you've lived, the eras you've lived, you've seen great heartache and you've seen great success. What is your prediction for the next 3 years for our country?
Now, I am a very conservative person,
So
I like the direction.
Try to take out the politics a little bit. I know that's going to be tough, but a little bit. But where do you see this young generation? Like, what can they hang their hat on? Everybody's fighting. Nobody can get together. Everybody's tearing everyone apart. It's the most divided our country's ever been. And if you're a young person today, where do you hang your hat?
I got to think about that a little bit because
I
don't categorize all young people as liberal or conservative.
Right.
I know a lot of conservative young people.
Yeah.
And, of course, now the liberals make the loudest noise and they get the most attention. So, and it is divided. And I think the concept of fake news is 100% true.
But, hasn't it always been fake news? I mean, I think Trump has just called it, but I think we've always had fake news.
I think we've probably always had fake news. I don't see anything but a better America in the future.
Oh, thank you.
Jobs are there, employment's up, the economy's up. All the indicators are saying very positive things.
Right.
And I don't see a bubble crashing anytime.
Right. Except that people are so polarized. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. That people are so polarized. And it isn't even like you and I can disagree anymore. We have to call each other out, be ugly, insult each other. I mean, it's so crazy, right?
I don't know. You know, if I get in a political argument, I generally find some people that don't like what I have to say and others that do. And, you know, I have a concealed weapons permit.
I defriend all the haters. I mean, I don't even care if you don't agree with me on my politics, but the minute you start to hate, even if you do agree with me, and if you become a hater or a bully, I'm done with you. I am blocking you and I'm defriending you and I'm done. I don't like bullies. I hate bullies.
No need.
Yeah.
No need. You can help people. You can do good things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people out there that are going to attack you for their views, no matter what. So
yeah.
And if you don't take a stand, you're not going to. You got to be on one side or the other of any issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Well, you know, we're at the end of our time, but I cannot thank you enough.
We just started.
Well, we just keep on going. Then we just like all night long. I'd have to have a glass of wine, but you know.
I got a water.
Okay, how do people find you? How do people find out more about you? How do people find out more about your amazing leadership and management conferences?
Well, I am not hard to find.
Okay, I have to ask you, because you know, I'm the queen of going here, ding, 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 everywhere. But so when I first heard of you and whatever, you know, I thought, he's related to Zig Ziglar, but it's spelled differently. So
I knew Zig Ziglar. I knew. Well, you're in the Speakers Association.
Yes.
See behind me, that's my CSP award hanging on the wall behind me.
Yes.
I got the CSP in 2001, and Zig Ziglar was very active in the Speakers Association, so I knew him really well. And he always say, "You misspell your name."
You know what? God knew that he had to differentiate the two Zieglers. That's what the deal was.
Yep.
You got two legends, but you can't spell their name the same or they're going to think you're all brothers.
So, yeah, Zig and I he come up to me and he had the corny sense of humor and say, "I got a joke, I'll knock your hair out." He said, "Oh, you've already heard it." Yeah. And yeah.
Have you ever written a book? I said, have you ever written a book?
I have written a book called The Prosperity Equation, the New Millennium Edition. I wrote that book 20 years ago, and it sold about 35,000 copies. It wasn't a bestseller. I hate all these people. I got a bestseller. No, you don't. You know? Yeah. It wasn't a bestseller, but it sold about 35,000 copies. It's about
I wish my last book sold 35,000 copies. I'd be thrilled.
You know, it's about how Debbie and I started the company, how we became wealthy, how we crashed. We crashed twice. I crashed in 1991 when the Gulf War was happening and car sales stopped happening. I had 40 employees on the streets with my American Express card in their pocket.
Oh my God.
We had zero revenue coming in, and I couldn't shut it down quick enough. And we owed $500,000 or so to the IRS. We owed money to American Express, and we had no money coming in. And in 14 months, I sold our way out of that and kept perfect credit the whole time. You know, wow. I hit the phones, and in 14 months, you know, we paid off all that debt. We took no bad credit hits. We honorably sold our way out of it. And I wrote an article in the magazine, "There's nothing on earth you can't sell your way out of."
Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. Is there a link or something you could post when we get done with this that they could read, that our viewers and your fans could read that article?
I'll tell you what, I don't even know where it is today, but I do have the Prosperity Equation on download.
Is there a link that we could post so people could download it?
I'm going to put it most of those people that on the sidebar are in my private group, I think.
Oh no, I got lots of friends out there. Ken Walls, I know you know him, and Sandra Benstock Delio. My brother Brian loves you.
Oh, that's Brian's sister.
That's Brian's sister. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Sandra, she's a great friend.
I've not met Sandra yet. Dawn Heller, Joyce Bone. Joyce Bone. She was the millionaire mom. She took a
Yeah.
like at 27 years old.
Did you say DJ Heller's in the audience?
Dawn Heller,
Yeah.
which is probably DJ. See, all your facts here. I mean, there's hearts, there's love, there's 100%, there's the big muscles, you know. So I want to know, how does everybody, like, how can they show you the love?
I want to find a way to put that up. You know, I can put it up in my private group if there was such a group.
Yeah, if it existed. But how about your non-private? You could always email me a link or something, and I could put up whatever you would want to share with us.
I will send it to you, and you can post it wherever you'd like. How about that?
Yes, because I think that there is, I mean.
Now, a lot of the technology references are out of date.
That's okay.
I mean, because when I wrote the book, autoresponders were the big thing.
Right, but that's okay. But you know what? So many people, you know, they fail. We all fail in life, right? It happens. Like, we fail, we got to get up. But you know, not only did you fail, whatever. You know, I don't think fail is the right word. But anyways, but I loved what you said. That's probably my favorite quote from you from this whole thing, and I'll never forget it. Is that you sold your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You sold your way out of it. You know
There's
what?
nothing on earth you can't sell your way out of.
That's right. Okay. No, why don't you say that again? Nothing won't what?
There's nothing on earth you can't sell your way out of.
Okay, that is going to be my quote of this whole thing. Nothing on earth you can't sell your way out of.